to raise a lot of money to build, you don't. And I saw Josh put his hand up, like raising money. I'm like, dude, you didn't raise money. Like, you built thousands of stores and built a multi-million-dollar company on friggin' 60 grand. Okay? That's not raising money. That's like money raising you. Because when you get successful, you know what happens? You have lots of friends. Everybody wants to be your friends. VCs want to be your friends. Investment bankers want to be friends. They're like, oh my God, I've been watching you for so long and you're so awesome. But in reality, they didn't care at the beginning. And so the origin story, I'm an absolute freak boy fan on every great brand that is built without it just being layered on with lots of money. Because layering it on at the beginning with lots of money is cheating. It's okay to cheat if you get rich, but it's not building a great brand. Building a great brand is when you see a problem and you look at that problem and you say it's not okay. So like in their case, they looked at the problem of sweets in stores and they're like, we're watching a Willy Wonka, was it? Was it Willy Wonka? Watching a Willy Wonka movie and together, was it you and Rosie? And they're watching the movie and they're like, what the hell? No shops look like this stuff. It's not okay. It's not okay that like sweets are shitty and they're not nice. All great brands, in my mind, are built on it's not okay. And then it's about what you do about it. And you can't just do one little thing. It can't just be just the name. I think your name is like Exquisite Sweets or Exquisite, but it means something. It can't just be about the colors. It can't just be about the stores. It has to be congruent across every single level. So you need to listen to the story, because if you're going to build a brilliant brand, you have to base it on science, on math, not just emotion. The beginning is on emotion, but every single thing after that has to be measured or you won't make it. Okay, so Josh is going to come up now. Emma from Blue is going to be an awesome moderator, so come on up, Emma. But I also want to bring up Jasmine from SUNSTONE. I really like SUNSTONE as a VC. Most people who know me as a VC know me as kind of, in some ways, the anti-VC. I agree in concept of making lots of money, but I don't agree with a 50-year-old model which hasn't changed and is generally pretty shitty. And so I like to question it every single day and make it better. And what I really liked about when SUNSTONE came into the market was they said, we need to build community first. We need to build a co-working space. I think it was Long Beach. Where are you, Jasmine? Over there, I think they went down to Long Beach. We need to build a community in Long Beach. We need to make sure that we build up the startup ecosystem rather than just picking the best founders that we can find from it. And that was before Long Beach was cool and nicer than Santa Monica, right? That was when it was a whole different place. So you gotta think differently, and you gotta think it's not okay, and you gotta understand that building brand is really hard. So you're in for a treat. Emma, let's get you two guests up here. Jasmine, get up here. Josh, get up here. And you guys are in for a treat for the next while. Here you go.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It is such an honor to be up here today with Jasmine and Josh. And we're going to actually do something a little bit interesting that's more interactive and engaging for this panel. First, I will start by introducing how this is going to work, and then I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and of course, we have many amazing stories from these speakers. So how this is going to work is it might not be what you're used to, but we're going to do rapid-fire questions. So each of our panelists will have 2 minutes to answer the question, and I'm going to start with 2 questions where they're just going to talk. Now, please raise your hand if you came here not only to support the grand mission of this, but also to network and to get to know people. Yes, I figured no one would be not putting their hand up. So we're actually going to be building in the insight from this room and have you all talk with each other. And so I will give you 2 minutes as well to talk about this topic, and then we will hear what the panelists have to say. So if you're not sitting by someone, I invite you to get up and be in a place where you can turn to someone or turn to a group of 3 or 4, and you will each have an allotted amount of time to talk. I also invite you to actually get up and move to a new location. If you wish to meet new people, no worries if you're comfortable, but I always invite that. Okay, are you ready? So first I will tell you a little bit about quick context. So I'm Emma. I'm the founder of Blue. we're a sun care company launching this summer, and we are differentiated with our carbonate technology, which is a patent-pending ingredient in the sunscreen that actually helps the ocean and the coral reefs instead of harming it. We also are going to market with refillable packaging and have premium luxury, because our whole ethos is that the greatest luxury is living in a clean world. Now, I will not spend time. Thanks. So,
Give it up.
like many of the founders in this room, I am fundraising, and so this conversation is very personal for me, and I can also learn a lot from both Josh and Jasmine. And I will not try to introduce both of you because you have such incredible backgrounds. So we're going to start. I'm going to set my lovely little timer sound here. And I would love for you, Josh, first to start.
Okay, I'm
and
ready.
give us a quick story of how you became from, you had a nice intro, but tell us how you went from founder to now investor.
Sure. Well, first of all, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur all my life. From a very young age, it was founder, starting dozens of little businesses. 99% of them failed. I had the very fortunate opportunity to have a couple that scaled up really quickly and did well. One was in video games, one was in candy. At some point, I think I had transitioned out of Sugarfina, just before the pandemic, and I think I just wanted to get a taste of the other side. There's a whole separate decision-making process when you become an investor versus a founder. And when I had my first exit from Pandemic Studios, my video games company, I had an opportunity to set up a small family office where I was doing a lot of investments as an angel. And I realized that I had a little bit of a knack for it. I really enjoyed supporting other founders in a different way, not only writing a check, but also sharing, just some of my experience, the ups and downs of being a founder. And I realized that that was a really valuable and impactful combination. And so ultimately, I decided to scale it up, professionalize it a little bit more, and set up my own fund. It's called OpenSky Ventures. We're local here in Venice, and we invest in both consumer and the technology that supports those, consumer brands. I took that leap because I felt like I still had a lot to offer in the ecosystem, but with a different lens and a different perspective that your typical VC would have.
Amazing. And you still had 12 seconds to spare, so that was pretty impressive.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. I didn't even know. I was kind of landing the plane right at the right time, but that's great.
Kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's amazing that you're here and sharing all of your insight with us. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely, and honestly, the times I made the mistakes, that's the most valuable insight I can share. So, yeah.
I'm excited to dive into that question. And Jasmine here, I know that you've invested in over 120 companies, is what John said. So tell us a little bit about what has led you to this place where you're at.
Actually, good evening, everyone. I'm Jasmine. I'm representing SUNSTONE here. And actually, the reason I'm here because I really want to support Brand Pop-Up and support John. I don't know where he is. And I think this is definitely the opportunity right now, not for us, it's for everybody in Southern California, because I feel like right now, Josh just mentioned about the ecosystem. And we think the ecosystem right now is super important for consumer brands. So where we started, actually, I think I met Brian a couple years ago. So at that time, we started to invest in VC, and we set up an accelerator. It's called Long Beach Accelerator, with City of Long Beach and Cal State Long Beach. So SUNSTONE being the solo capital providers behind this accelerator. So we invested about 30, 40 deals from the accelerator program, the cohorts. So we started to think about, okay, what is something more than just writing checks to startups? Yes, that's what we are good at, just writing checks, be the capital providers. But as we really, grow into this ecosystem, we feel like actually there are more than just writing a check to founders. We really want to build the ecosystem here, really wants to be the ecosystem facilitator here to really support founders from Southern California. We definitely a big believer in how to promote the innovation ecosystem here, trying to be the people, really hold their hands with founders, and that's where this kind of the story from. And currently, actually, we have more than 100 startups in our portfolio, direct investment, but we are not just thinking about it's more about how we can, really support founders, hold founders from the very beginning and take them to a 10 million company, 100 million company, or even a unicorn. So that's where we think about what we can do there for some founders.
Amazing.
How many seconds I left there? Perfect.
Pretty on the dial. It's kind of fun to see how long it actually takes when you're sharing your story. It's something new and maybe refreshing. And I have to remember my phone password here. Usually I have a bell. Okay, so now one last question for both of you before we kick off and have our conversation. I would love to know, Josh, when you transitioned from founder to investor, what surprised you most? What did you completely misunderstand about investors when you were a founder? And I'm asking this in question too in light of helping maybe teach or give insight for our audience here.
Yeah, I would say the number one thing is, as a founder, you always think about, God, there's such a limited pool of money out there. How do I get to attract that capital? How can I make them interested in me? How can they, write that check? And you should be focusing on that, of course. But when I made the shift over to investor, what I realized is there's a lot of money out there. And VCs and angels want to put that money to work. They're so eager to write those checks. So they actually want to get to yes more often than you realize. But it's tough to know that because you're hearing no so often. It really is a numbers game. You got to talk to 100 investors a lot of times just to get a couple of people to show interest and get into it. But it's interesting, if you understand where VCs are coming from, we're so eager to say yes. I mean, I can't wait to write that check. I can't wait to find that right entrepreneur. I can't wait to put our capital to work. I can't wait to report back to our limited partner base, hey, we found one. This is great. This is why we love it. We're so excited about it. So once you understand that they actually really do want to say yes, there's a little bit of a shift, I think, that can happen in how you're thinking about approaching them for money. And you can maybe get a little bit deeper into, well, wait, maybe why aren't I getting to yes with them? If they want to say yes so badly and they want that fit, what's happening? And that's where maybe you take a step back. What I see founders making them a mistake a lot of the times is they're talking to the wrong people. There's definitely VCs out there that want to say yes to you, but maybe their thesis for investment doesn't even come close to overlapping with what you're asking them for. Or maybe you need to adjust your story. We're humans like everybody else. We're looking for founders who can tell a really compelling story about why are they doing this? What problem are they solving? Is it a real problem or not? So maybe it just takes adjusting that story. There's a lot of reasons why maybe you're still getting there we go. I just got cut off. But that was the most surprising thing. The money is there. They want to invest in you. You just have to find that spark and connection.
I love that. It's like the answer is yes, and the question is how. Well, some of the answer is no, but the investors are out there, and I've never heard that actually. And thank you. As a founder, thank you. That's enlightening. Okay, now Jasmine, for you, I would love to know, you invest in several categories. It's not just CPG. And so I'm curious, as a venture firm, what signals make you lean forward immediately, especially in CPG when you're seeing these brands?
Wow, this is a really good question. Before that, actually, I'm trying to get a sense of this room. So how many of you are founders? Please raise your hand. How many of you are CPG or D2C founders? Please raise your hand. All right, I think we definitely get a good ideas about who is in this space. So yes, SUNSTONE not just interested in D2C brands or consumer brands investment. We are also super interested in enabling technology. So last week, I just came back from Bay Area. So if you're familiar with this kind of the AI trend, last week is the GTC week in Bay Area from NVIDIA. It's a big event. Everybody get there and talking about physical AI, hardware, and how AI can help the world. So actually, when I was thinking about this question, I think it's more about really Southern California can bring to the table. So I'm thinking about if you really want to compete with those Bay Area companies regarding AI infrastructure, it's different. It's very harsh, to be honest with you, because they have the best infrastructure there. They have the support from those big tech companies there. But when we talk about international trade, when we're talking about consumer brands, we've been talking about how we can combine with the real consumer market. I think Southern California is the space to start this. So that's the reason I'm a very big believer that actually if you really want to start your consumer brands here, you have to start this here in Southern California, in LA or in Beverly or this region. The reason being because you have the best team here, you have the best consumer market here, and also you have the best service providers, like creative agencies, and all those people you can work with, the marketplace, the enabling technology, those are all here. So that's the reason I just feel like being a VC, if we don't invest in this space, it will be a big, big miss. So that's the reason I'm thinking about definitely we need to support here. And also here, this is the biggest port, Southern California has the biggest port, and that is makes more economically, considerable for those brands.
Thank you. Yeah, it really matters where you are. Yeah. And it's amazing to be, even this event, for example, in a room of people who really care. And I think both of your answers combined, too. It's like putting yourself in the right place really, really matters. And that is really, it's a very tangible thing, I think, that people can take away because you have control of where you go and who you meet and what you do. You can put yourself out there. I mean, I'm 21 years old. I just graduated from college, and it's, it's possible, which is really, it's because of people like both of you as well. All right. Is everyone ready for their first question? So we're going to kick this off and have you both talk, and I will let you know when we're at a minute so you can switch. So the first question that we are going to address is why consumer matters. And we started just briefly getting into this. But the question is, consumer brands have been historically seen as slow and capital intensive. Why do you think consumer brands matter more now than ever, especially in a broader tech ecosystem? And maybe you have a story to tell if you're a founder, a pain point that you've experienced. All right, I'm going to start your timer now. It's amazing. I know. And also, really, it's amazing to see like the timing that works out. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm going to cut your conversation short. And I see we're having very fruitful conversations, which is always a plus. Okay, so now I'm going to, everyone's wrapping up fabulous. It's always better when there's more conversation than less. Don't worry, you'll have another couple minutes to continue. So, all right. I'm going to, yes. All right. So now I would like to turn that question to both of you. So Josh, why don't you start us off and let us know, why do you think it's a really important time to invest in consumer products, especially when we're seeing all of this tech emerging?
I think this is a renaissance. Look, a lot of VC firms abandoned consumer years ago. And look, I get it. You have tariffs, you have high shipping costs, you have the pandemic. Some brands did well with the pandemic, some brands didn't. And there was a lot of ups and downs there. But look, consumer, accounts for 60, 70% of US GDP. Whether you're having a recession or not, or there's challenges in the world or not, everybody needs things. Everyone needs stuff. They need food. They need, they're pursuing health and wellness goals. Consumer is here to stay. It never went away. I think this is a particularly exciting time to invest in consumer, because of the wave of technology that's happening right now. I have seen a dramatic difference in terms of what is needed or not needed to start a brand from scratch now. You used to have to build a huge team. You had to raise a lot of money. You had to create a lot of your own proprietary technology. You had to do the difference between when I started Sugarfina in 2012 versus starting a company, 13, 14 years later is dramatic. I have teams in my portfolio with like 1, 2, 3 people who are doing $30 million, $50 million worth of revenue because they were able to leverage all that great technology. Coming out of the pandemic and coming out of the iOS 14, change as well, I'm seeing founders with a much leaner DNA as well. They know every single dollar counts, and that mind shift has been, super, important as well. So I think that's made a big difference. And I think CEOs and teams have just become a lot smarter because of all the technology and all the hardship they've gone through recently. So we're seeing teams that are telling way better stories, which is really important, and also they are creating products that are making a real difference in people's lives, and they're able to do this a lot more affordably and go to market a lot faster.
Amazing. Yeah.
Right on time. I hope you guys all noticed that. I'm getting so much better up here.
You guys are crushing the timing. That's really insightful, and I think it's true. It's amazing just what is coming out of this, and having a positive spin and take. It's one of maybe the best times to be a founder.
It is an incredible time to be a founder right now, and again, especially in consumer.
Yeah. And Jasmine, how about you? What is your take on this topic?
Yeah, I think definitely consumer brands is definitely a very interesting space. But right now, I agree with Josh 100%. I don't know if you guys heard about the concept before, one-man shop. I think because of the AI, because of the enabling technology, because all those available service providers you can tap into right now, it's easy for a startup, a founder right now can start a brand here, and just one people or maybe 2 people, and they can easily to test it out to see if this idea really work or not. So that's exactly I see this compared to maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because of AI really changed the game. Let me ask you this way. Before, if you want to design a logo, maybe you need to talk to a designer, you need to work with your Adobe Photoshop. It takes a lot of time, you have to learn those tools. How about right now, you just feed it to ChatGPT or Cloud, and immediately they can give you some concept of there. So I just feel like right now the software really makes this so easy for people can start it to test it out idea. And because Southern California is the best place for you to really develop your narratives, your story here, you can just find anyone here, I will say that way, like any group of profiles of users here, and you can definitely easily for you to start to do the test out. I think that's number one thing for VC investment. You want to build tractions first. So that's I see right now, this is best place for consumer brands. And also another thing I want to mention is LA28 is coming. We're all super excited about that. We're all super excited about the world, the tourists, the people will come here, and there will be a huge opportunities for consumer brands. So I just feel like, it's another 2 years, and this is the right moment to start doing this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for all of I'm taking a lot of notes in my head. I can't have a notepad up here, but I wish I could. So let me close it out. We have 3 minutes. It goes by quickly when we're engaging everyone in this conversation. So I would love to hear from both of you your closing thoughts on, tell me, if a founder here in this audience pitched you tomorrow, what is one thing that a founder has done in a pitch that immediately grabbed your attention in a good way? Maybe not a bad way, but share something memorable that people can really take away.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I sat down with the founder as a favor. I wasn't looking to invest in this space. I said, oh, sure, I'll have coffee with them. And, it's the most obvious thing, but it was a hummus brand And he came to the coffee shop, and he brought a little cooler with him. And I'm like, yeah, I eat hummus. I know it's popular. It's great. A good source of protein, all of that. It's on trend. But I just wasn't really thinking about really leaning in at that point. But he did what any great founder would do. He brought samples. He opened them up. Basically, he sat me down and had me eat some right there. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is the best restaurant quality hummus that is available right now in retail. And he just, he fed me during the meeting, and I'm like, okay, you got my attention. I've never tasted a better hummus. And so then we started talking more, and he was persistent, and we ended up investing. And I have another example on the tech side. During the meeting, it was a company called, by the way, the hummus brand was Habiza Hummus. They're based in West LA. They're fantastic, growing like crazy. And on the tech side, it was a company called Gumshoe AI. And basically, they're search engine optimization for LLMs. And what he did that was really neat is he said, hey, Josh, I looked at all the brands in your portfolio that we think we can be a help for, and he ran reports on all of them, and he showed me right there in the meeting how Gumshoe can move the needle for my brands getting noticed as people are using LLMs more and more instead of Google for doing brand discovery. And he showed me all the action items he'd recommend to those brands. I'm like, I get it. That's totally useful. So if you can demonstrate how your product is different from any others in solving a real problem and doing it in a unique and ideally protectable way, you have my attention.
That's awesome. So it's the what's in it for you, or the them for the investor's perspective, and then
What?
I'm not asking a question. I'm saying it's like having the mindset of what's in it for them. For example, with the LLMs, like what can I do to really impress?
And it's even more so. It's instead of me just talking at you, let me demonstrate how my product can win and how I can be different and how I can stand out. That gets an investor's attention.
That's amazing. It's like a picture is worth 1,000 words, but how a product is. The action is what counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And wrapping this up, I would love to hear from you, Jasmine, a story or something memorable.
I think different categories have different way of evaluate startups. But for me, for consumer brands, I think you need to figure out two questions. And I think every consumer brands needs to figure out two questions. Number one is how to get on the shelf. So basically, you need to know who are your distributors. Traditional distributors, retailers, or it's just like you use marketplace, e-commerce platforms to really get on the shelf. Maybe it's a virtual shelf, but that's number one thing for consumer brands. You have to be visible to the market. Number two is similar to what Josh just mentioned, how you can get off the shelf, why your customer want to purchase this, why your customer willing to pay to purchase this product. I think that is exactly talking about what differentiates you from other competitors in the same category. And you definitely need to have something different there. It could be packaging. It could be how the advertisement creative part. It could be something how uniqueness, what you want to offer there. But there should be something there. If you can address those two questions from the initial presentation, that will give you a very, very good starting point of talking to investors like us to continue the conversation.
Thank you. And thank you for also giving us two easy, actionable, steps we can take or things we can be paying attention to. And thank you both, Josh and Jasmine, for joining this conversation.
Thank you so much.
And thank you all for participating in a new format.